First of all, it was really lovely to listen to all 7 schools present, the kinds of cool things that you're doing, including yours, of course. So I was thinking of the use cases, and some of those are use cases that many of us are trying out. So I was trying to think, could I add a couple of use cases to what we heard, right? And these are 3 use cases, one of which, and I figured I'd just make it personal and say these are things I've done as an instructor, right? So rather than talking about what, broadly we've done. And my colleagues are doing this as well. So one use case is before the classroom, before the class. One use case is in the class, and one use case is after the class. So that's the logic for, picking these 3. So in terms of before the class, we all know that we have a problem with students not prepping, coming to class, cold and so forth. So question is, can you try and meet them halfway in some manner? And so what we've tried is essentially use Notebook LLM as kind of the container for delivering the pre-read material for a given session. So the readings, the case, maybe the material that goes in there gets loaded in. We cordon off the LLM so it's not connected to the rest of the world. So for example, let's say it was a session on platforms versus pipelines, right, in strategic management or in digital platforms. So there would be 2 readings in there. And then the faculty member, in addition to putting the 2 readings, puts in a whole set of prompts as to how he would have interacted with the 2 readings to extract certain things. What fundamentally are the differences between a platform and a pipeline? Is there any evidence that a platform works better in a certain situation versus a pipeline? And the answers that the LLM pulls out are just coming from these 2 papers, nothing more. Right? So in a sense, it's a sort of a lazy way for a student to read these 2 papers with the prompts helping them. Again, the Notebook LLM allows you to create a mind map, and perhaps some students are visual, maybe that helps. What worked for me personally was creating podcasts, because I really encourage my students to go use the rec center, work out, be healthy, and so forth. So this was my attempt at meeting them halfway, saying, stick it into your ear and go for a run. So, so there's ways in which one could possibly streamline and enjoyify, if you will, the learning process, and hopefully, prior to the class. So we've implemented that, and I think that actually works quite well, using Notebook LLM as a delivery container. We're also investigating punching a hole into that container in the following manner. So for a whole set of materials, you don't want them going and picking up random gyan from Medium and so on and so forth, right? You want them to focus on that. But sometimes the student wants, give me some more Indian examples of pipelines versus platforms. And those 2 cases that you've put in there probably don't have that content. So for those kinds of queries, going out and sort of using the LLM's broader knowledge base to answer these particular questions. So you'd have to figure out what the ring fencing is that you do. That might basically be something we try out next. In the classroom, this is something I'll do on my next rev, is on note-taking. Arvind was talking about the fact that learning is about new synaptic connections happening. And we are all old people, and we've all taken notes, and we know that when you take notes, even if you never refer to the notes again, it does something, and there's scientific evidence that it creates new neural pathways, it forces a certain amount of learning. Most people today don't know how to take notes at all, and they don't. In fact, it's really irritating as a faculty member to be talking and the student is sitting there. It's almost like I'm in entertainment mode. Go on, right? Let's see how funny you are and so forth. So, we want to have them taking notes. How do you force it? So here's what we're going to try out. At the end of every class, I'm going to basically insist that the student upload their notes into the learning management system, right there. Now, they cannot take a picture of their neighbor's notes because now it will be obvious it's plagiarism, so it has to be their own notes. So whatever notes they've written, they will upload it into the LMS at the end of the session. You use AI to basically go through those notes and figure out just 2 levels, right? Is it total BS or is it somewhat reflective of the class? That then essentially teaches them perhaps a new habit, right? So I think that could be something that's pretty easy to try out. It doesn't require any new technology per se, just an LMS that you can upload to with a picture. A third one would be what Srivats was talking about, which is if you go back to oral evaluations, and so after the class, how do you bring vivas back in at scale? In a perfect world, that's what we would do. We would just have a viva with every student and figure out, did they learn what they were supposed to learn or not? But when you have 360 students, because I teach a 360 student class, right? How do you basically conduct 360 vivas? there may be a way you could use AI for that, right? You can essentially have them use AI, whatever, to prepare. You give them broadly a topic you're going to do a Viva on, but the Viva is done online, and you'd have to make it a relatively short Viva so they can't cheat and use AI while doing the Viva, right? They'd have to record the Viva, and then you could possibly use AI as a way of assessing the Viva responses. It sounds kind of hypocritical, honestly, as a faculty member to use AI to test somebody else's Vivas. But that may be one way to do it. So those were 3 things: before the class, in the class, and after.